Survivor's ready! Direct from Hobart, it's time for you to hear those so-called experts from Survivor Oz talk about another reality show, despite the fact they always said they wouldn't ever talk about Survivor. It's The Amazing Race Oz, and here's your host,
Colin Hilding. Hello everybody, welcome back to The Amazing Race Oz. We're here taking a break from our coverage of The Amazing Race Canada for another weekend, taking a break from our preseason of The Amazing Race 27 to bring you the first official interview with a U.S. contestant we've had outside of the Natalie and Nadia Anderson Survivor recap. So first time we'll get to really talk in depth about the U.S. Amazing Race to somebody. And we have at least my favorite team from season 26. And if I remember our recaps from last season, most of our regular contributors' favorite team from season 26. And the only successful real couple slash real team on The Amazing Race 26. We have Mike and Rochelle here today. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks so much for having us. We're excited to be here.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Now, I'm kind of interested to find out about your history, because your season's a little bit of an odd one to talk to anybody about, because it outside of the Amazing Race Family Edition, Season 8, it really kind of exists on its own because of the twist. But were you both fans of the Amazing Race going in? Had you applied for the show in the past, or what was the history of getting on the show?
I watched a couple episodes, maybe the first or second season a little bit when I was younger, and from then I didn't really watch it at all. And I applied for Big Brother back maybe 3 years ago or so, and I got a call, and the casting director was like, "Do you still have a beard?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Are you dating anyone?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Well, do you want to, try to be on The Amazing Race? Do you want to audition?" And I was like, "Well, let me ask my girlfriend, and then we'll see what we can do." So it really came out of nowhere, and we had to pretty much, man. Rochelle was watching all these episodes on Hulu, like every season. So maybe the first 3 months of us dating were pretty much watching The Amazing Race, and that was it.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. We had only been dating for about, I would say, a month when he got that call. So basically, the beginning of our relationship was just preparing, going through the casting process and then traveling around the world together. So it was definitely a good starter to a relationship.
Crazy one.
Is that one of the reasons why it did take so long to introduce him to your son? Just because every moment you guys had together, you're prepping for the race right off the bat?
Sorry.
With you, Rochelle, had you never watched the show before, or is it something you kind of loosely knew about?
Yeah, I never even heard of the show. I haven't had cable for years, so I never heard of the show till Mike gave me the phone call. And so as soon as we started, preparing to send in our first video, I started watching all the episodes. And I pretty much fell in love with the show as soon as I watched it and was really excited to apply for it.
Do you remember what seasons you guys watched before you went on the show?
I think I watched 24 all the way probably up to 15. Mm-hmm. But I didn't watch anything previously of that.
Oh, okay. At least you had some of the recent stuff. You could stay away from the family edition. I don't know if either of you guys have ever seen that.
We did actually watch a few episodes of the family edition.
Probably didn't help much in preparation.
No.
When you said that you'd only really known each other, or I guess only been dating for a little while, but we kind of got a little bit of the gist of how you met, through your casting bios and everything. But did you want to just give the listeners a little bit of a clue as to how you guys did meet up? Because it is a more interesting story from a lot of the couples we found on the show.
I mean, one thing that wasn't touched on the show is I'm actually a pro wrestling promoter and wrestler. And, of course, Rochelle is a roller derby girl, and she runs her league. So in our small town, we were both these two, promoters kind of in an aspect. And we would run events at the same building and everything. So we knew of each other, and my wrestling promotion actually worked with her roller derby team back in 2012. So we had seen each other around, and we talked and stuff like that, but the actual story of her coming into the truck stop and hanging up the flyer and everything like that was all part of the pro wrestling and roller derby aspect of our relationship, which we tried to pitch to them in casting, like, a pro wrestler and a roller derby girl. And they didn't really like that because they just had Robbie, E, and Brooke, the wrestlers, on season 25 before. So they went truck stop route.
Yeah, that was...
then the truckers.
Yeah, that was actually my next question, because I've always wondered with The Amazing Race, particularly the more recent seasons, you didn't so much see it in the early years when it was just, mother and son, brothers. But nowadays there's so much branding to every single team. I mean, you got hashtags that started the season before yours, and you had to do all these selfies and everything on your season. There's so much branding that went into your season, and I always wondered whether, when they pitch these characters to you, that you guys were promoted as like truck stop owner and roller derby girl. And it kind of threw us off when we were watching the race, because we were expecting, like, okay, the physical challenges, Rochelle's going to take them all. And then, Mike, you took several of the physical challenges because they left out that whole thing about you actually being a wrestler as well.
Yeah, that was all shied away from, like, since casting. When we did one of the bigger casting interviews, when we first went in front of Phil and some of the executives at CBS, the casting director was like, just don't mention anything about wrestling. We don't want to go that route. So I think with the branding, they just found one thing and they just focused on that. My parents owned a gas station, which they in turn, let's call it a truck stop instead, because a lot of people don't really, we haven't had people like this on the show. Mm-hmm. So they did that and they just blew it up, and that kind of became our angle on the show.
But the funny part about it was they never told us what angle they were really going with us. When we were first, when we got on the show, and they asked us to send in basically like a hashtag that we wanted to go by. And we came up with the Small Town Sweethearts.
And the producers loved it.
They were like, that's our favorite one we've gotten so far. And the first time that we saw that they were actually going with, Truck Stop Love was the first episode when we were watching the premiere. So we had no idea, like, that's what they were going to portray us as.
We found out we were Truck Stop Love when you found out we were Truck Stop Love.
Yeah, that's the other thing, because we're going through the season 27 right now, and we're noticing that some of the teams have like these really elaborate hashtags, and then other ones are like hashtag cousins. And we're like, well, how are you going to get your team out there competing with all the other hashtag cousins that are going to be on Twitter and everything?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know if maybe this season, if they're telling them their hashtags or what was going on. I think that would be more important to the branding, so they could incorporate it in their, in their interviews and everything on the show. But they just completely kept us in the dark on that. And maybe, like, I don't know, I would say 3 or 4 times on the entire race they asked me about the truck stop. Like, when we were doing the tire challenge, grading the road in Africa, they were like, oh, do you do this at the truck stop? And I was like, oh, yeah, I forgot that was our angle again, because I'm the truck stop manager. So I didn't know where they were going with it. And like I said, when it happened on TV, that's when we first found out about it.
Now, as I said earlier, you had the whole blind dating twist as part of your season. Rossi, I should introduce, I didn't at the start of the show, but we are also joined by Rossi, which everybody who's listening to this already knows. Rossi, you had a question about the twist of the season.
Yeah, so your season was probably one of the most notable for having a dramatic twist with the blind dating.
Yeah.
When you were applying, were you told that it was going to be that way? Did you know when you applied? Did they tell you it all in casting, or what was the deal with that?
No. Actually, we saw, like, when we were casting, we saw, like, single girls running around, like, the hotel. But during casting, you're not allowed to talk to anybody. So we were kind of curious about that. And we saw a lot of single guys. Like, we had to take a psych test, and they had probably about 20 of us together. And we saw, like, a lot of singles in that aspect. But we had no idea, like, what exactly was going on. We had some theories, but... And then when we came to the hotel right before the start of the race, they were really good about keeping all of us separated. I mean, everywhere you go to, like, film your intro videos and stuff, you're traveling in, like, blacked out vans. And they went above and beyond to make sure, like, that twist wasn't exposed. And I think there was a point when we were all in a conference room, and we were learning the rules of the game. They had a wall dividing the guys and the girls. And so we had a couple single guys on our half, and then on the other half were the single girls, and we could hear them ask questions and such. And at that point, we pretty much had a clear idea that there was some sort of twist going on with our season, but they still like didn't declare it. And the first time that we actually heard what the twist was is when you see on the
starting line.
Yeah, the starting line when those girls are running up. That was the first time they actually even told us what was going on.
What was your reaction? Like, I mean, we see little bits of shots here and there with people responding, but once you guys had a chance to sit down and talk about it, like, was it something you were happy about, or were you worrying this kind of, is a little bit of a weird thing to do? Are we going to get any airtime off of this?
Oh, well, we just thought that going into the race, when Phil first announced its blind dates, when we talked about it on, heading to LAX on the drive there, we told the cameras, we told everybody while talking to each other that we thought it was just going to be easier for us because, just meeting somebody for the first time ever, you're not going to be compatible. So in the early on interviews, we were just like, we think they're going to just all drop off and
we were stoked.
They're complete strangers. How can you work together?
Mm-hmm. The one thing I think that really made you guys stand apart, and I'm pretty sure anybody listening to this will agree that obviously you made it further than any of the pre-existing teams, but it felt to us when we started covering this season that in a lot of ways the season was set up to just be in favor of those new couples. They had this blind dating twist, and every single week they're checking in and Phil's like, is there a love connection here? Like, so much of the airtime was going towards that, that it felt like a lot of the pre-existing couples were, sort of cast to be early eliminated ones, which is why for a lot of fans, it was so pleasantly surprising that you guys made it as far as you did, because we have a classic Amazing Race team that went far. Do you get that response from fans often, that, they were happy that a real traditional Amazing Race team was able to survive as long as you did?
We got a lot of people, supporting us for being the last dating couple and everything like that, but a lot of the response we got was, I just hope they don't do the blind dating thing again. Yeah. That's pretty much what everybody said, is just, it would be cooler in a different aspect, I think, if they just did strangers, like two guys or two girls or an old person and a young person. Something like that would be really cool, but I think the dating thing, it rubbed them the wrong way because it's like they didn't want The Bachelor, they don't want sappy stuff on The Amazing Race. Mm-hmm. So I think, I don't know, maybe around like the third or fourth episode, it seems like when everybody would check in with Phil, the blind dating couples, he would just kind of mince around the blind dating aspect when he realized they were just all going to be friends, and overall their blind date setup was a failure, other than Jeff and Jackie.
Yeah, slightly. How, from what you could see with the other teams, your interactions, how were the other teams, the blind dating teams, feeling about this?
I think probably by the second leg of the race, pretty much a lot of them, probably 90%, except maybe Jeff and Jackie, we're just friends, and we're just, going to do this race to, win the money. So really early on, they knew there was no love connection.
Yeah, and I think Matt and Ashley really saved it in the third leg when they did the proposal, mm-hmm. because they really wanted, the race, the producers, the creators really wanted a love theme and a love connection. The logo even had a heart around it for season 26. So when Matt and Ashley did that, they were probably like, all right, we at least have a little bit of love going on here that we can show. But all the blind dates were just like, no, we're just friends, really good friends, and that's what's going to come of this experience.
That's why we felt bad for Phil the entire season, because you could almost hear the CBS executive in his earpiece saying, you got to ask them if there's a love connection on episode 11. It's clearly not happening.
Yeah, it didn't really go anywhere. I actually wish they would just let Phil do whatever. Mm-hmm. Because he is a really funny guy, talking to him at the pit stops and stuff like that.
He is hilarious. And, they show some of his humor here and there, but there are so many funny moments with Phil that, you just don't get to see on the season.
And a lot of the time at the pit stops, too, when he cracks a joke, it's natural Phil. And then the next line goes something that, I have to say this, or I have to say this. So I think they should just let him go on the fly. He can still be serious and have his jokes, but man, they do not even show half of his humor on TV.
Yeah, that was the next thing we were going to ask about Phil and what he was like, because we see him, and he's a great host, but we're covering the Amazing Race Canada right now, which is, that's where I'm from, the Canadian version, and our host is an Olympic gold medalist, so he was already famous. He was famous for a personality that existed before the show. So we're watching the Amazing Race Canada, and he gets to just cut loose and say whatever he wants and joke around and do the challenges in the middle of it, when he's introducing it. And we almost wish we could see that of Phil now, because we've never really heard or seen, the humor of Phil. So it's really interesting to hear that he has that different personality we don't see.
Yeah, I think it's because he tried to become the host of Survivor when that first came out on CBS, and he didn't get the job, obviously. But he was just looking for, a big break to host a show and everything like that. So I think he started the Amazing Race. He got cast as the host for the Amazing Race, and he started out there. And maybe, the pressure of this new job, this big show on CBS, and they just kind of got a template for it. And, okay, Phil's the serious guy. You meet at the pit stop. It's a serious show. He's there. And I think it just went from that. Now it's what viewers expect to see Phil act like or talk like.
He has actually a really good documentary. I forget the name of it. Do you remember?
I don't remember the name of it.
It's where he cycles across North America. And he's just a really interesting guy. Mike got me his book, No Opportunity Wasted for Christmas, and there's a lot more to Phil that you don't see in the race. I definitely recommend watching that documentary, though, if you have opportunity.
We didn't even know about the documentary. We did, during the season 25 coverage, every week we would have a fun fact about Phil, and we found out about his book and, his protein bars and all this stuff. But there's a documentary out there. We're going to have a whole new season worth of material now to go off of.
Yeah, no, it's a really, really good documentary. I wish I knew the name off the top of my head. But
yeah. Well, and then some of our camera crew, they said that Phil had another, I don't know if it was a documentary or if he just did it, but he dressed up in some clothing from some era, and he did another bicycle thing from the 1920s. He rode a 1920s bicycle or something. I'm probably getting this one wrong.
No, yeah. There is 2 documentaries, I think.
We need to track those down and tag it with this interview now.
I'm curious to know, we saw you guys win a leg in Thailand. I believe it was Thailand.
Yeah.
So first we want to know some behind the scene things, because sometimes the team in first don't really get as much airtime as the teams who are going to lose. So we kind of want to know some behind the scene things that may have happened that we didn't see to lead to your win.
And okay, on leg 3, basically we started out the leg. It was nighttime, and we were on this cab ride for almost an hour to get to Patong Beach, and we had to find the selfie stick. And we thought that that leg was going to go through the night.
And we were so exhausted at this point too. I think we flew from Tokyo. No,
we flew. Leg 2 was in Nagano, and then we had to go back to Tokyo to fly out to Phuket, and that took a day's worth of travel.
We were traveling. We were traveling for an entire day, and not knowing how kind of the behind the scenes of the race works. We figured as soon as we got to Thailand that we were going to have to continue.
And so we got there, and we were relieved. They gave us 2,000 baht to go spend at Patong Beach, and it was just this crazy wild party. But the first thing we went and did was put our bags in the bed and breakfast, and we realized it only had a certain number of rooms, and there were way more teams than that. So I believe the Olympians and Matt and Ashley were already there, and they were in their rooms sleeping. So we're we met up with Jeff and Jackie and Haley and Blair. So we went out there, and Rochelle and I kind of made the deal, let's just go out and have a little bit of fun, have dinner, maybe a drink or 2, and then go to bed.
And eat pad thai in Thailand, because that was my number 1 goal.
Yeah, she really want to eat the pad thai there. So we did that, and Haley and Blair and Jeff and Jackie stayed out a little bit longer, and they had a lot more drinks than we did. So we went back into the bed and breakfast, and they didn't really focus on this aspect, but we locked the door so nobody else could share the room with us because we wanted a full night's sleep. So we did that, and then, I don't know, it must have been 4 or 5 in the morning. We hear Kurt and Bergen, and Tyler and Laura, Jenny Jelani, they're knocking on doors. They're trying to find where to, a place to sleep. And Rochelle woke up, and I remember just telling her, shh. Don't say anything. So we did that, and then
I think they all had did they sleep in the hallway? Or
some people slept in the hallway. Haley and Blair let Kurt and Bergen in their room, I think, and John and Harley weren't even in the equation at the time. They weren't even in Phuket, so
Jeff and Jackie had their own huge suite together.
But we were well rested going into it, and we left with the Olympians and Matt and Ashley because we were the third team to get the selfie stick. So we left early, and we basically stayed, neck and neck with them two teams. And when we really broke out was at the detour. We chose the zip lining challenge. And we were the first team to get the entire zip lining, the trays delivered.
But I think there was probably 3 other teams ahead of us at that point, and they were all in such a hurry. And I think Blair and Haley got the wrong menu items. Did Matt drop his tray?
Matt and Ashley kept dropping them every time they went. So
we took our time and definitely read the menu. When we were going up, we kind of figured out a strategy of putting the plate over the bowl of soup so it wouldn't fall. And we were actually the first team to complete that challenge on the first try.
That's what set us ahead.
And then we had a really good cab driver.
Tuk-tuk driver.
Tuk-tuk, excuse me. Driver that pretty much was able to get us anywhere we wanted to go. Really
fast.
Yeah.
Our cameraman even told him to slow down.
Oh, really?
He was awesome. And then we went to the Ladyboy Challenge, and that was pretty much everything that was shown on TV is, dress up as a ladyboy, and that got my natural reaction, and, everything like that. And we went in, we went out, and that was pretty much quickly. And then when we got to the mat, we were the first team there, probably by about 15, 20 minutes. So we were the only team that got to sit in the infinity pool and put our feet in at the top of that rooftop bar, which was pretty nice. And then all the other teams literally came in within a minute of each other, just piling on one after another, after another, after another. And obviously John and Harley still weren't even in the equation at the time. So we pulled way ahead, and John and Harley were way in behind, so everybody in the middle just piled at the same time.
Yeah, it wasn't that hard of a leg to navigate, so I think it kept most of the teams in the same group. I just think that first challenge was what was able to give us a 10, 15 minute jump on the other teams, and that's pretty much what won the leg for us.
Yeah, and the only other thing really behind the scenes on that leg was at the Upside Down house where we had to get our clue for the detour. Jeff and Jackie thought we stole their tuk-tuk.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, they're, and when we were in the Ladyboy deal, we were leaving, and Jeff comes in, and he's like, so how did you like your tuk-tuk ride? And I was like, well, it was great, thanks. Because I had no idea that's what they thought. And we get to the mat, and there was a little deal there with, Phil's like, I understand somebody stole somebody's tuk-tuk, and Jeff and Jackie were like, well, yeah, they stole it, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, no, straight up, we didn't steal your tuk-tuk at all. And come to find out, it was Matt and Ashley that stole the tuk-tuk. But they didn't say a word about it. They just kept it all under wraps.
That was right before he was going to propose, though.
Yeah.
So I think
it would have ruined the moment.
With the big proposal. But that was pretty much the only thing. A lot of that episode, well, basically, us throughout the episode, everything you've seen on TV was how it really happened. It was super quick for us, and we just breezed through everything, and it was a really good day.
Except that run up that hill right before the finish line, it was brutal.
Yeah, to get up to the rooftop bar, there was no steps or anything. It was all just uphill. There was a driveway, and there were not even steps. It was just a sidewalk that went up, I don't know how many feet. But the clue said that the driver of the tuk-tuk had to stop at the bottom of the mountain, and we had to climb up. So I was carrying Rochelle's bag and having her go, and then but we had the feeling we were in first and everything, so we just kept on going up and up and up, and we made it.
With the Ladyboy Challenge, when the producers sit out and they plan, this is what we're going to do for the season, they have to have been thinking of you, Mike, when they're like, we're going to dress guys as showgirls. This is Mike's challenge.
Oh, yeah. That was, I'm sure they did, because Rochelle kept calling me the bearded lady, and they liked adding that in there, so I'm sure that was one of their motives there was my beard and myself as a whole. But it was fun. A lot of the guys are like, I have to wear makeup. I'm like, whatever. It's part of the show. Let's do it.
It's for $1 million. Like, are you going to turn down $1 million to do it once?
Yeah, like, it's not like these are, like, permanent tattoos on my face.
Yeah.
Like, it's just makeup that'll wash off before I even get to the mat. But
with the first leg, it was obviously the U-turn was the big moment, or the double U-turn on that first leg. I think people who U-turn the Amazing Race sometimes get, unfortunately labeled as like, oh, well, this is a sleazy move or whatever, just because, if you're used to watching Survivor, you accept there's things like that happen. If you watch The Amazing Race, some people seem to take it very seriously. But, like, personally, I always figure, like, if you're going to U-turn, like, if you have a U-turn, use it. When you guys did use the U-turn on Jeff and Lyda, like, we're always wondering when we're watching this race, how much do you know about who's ahead of you and who's behind? Did you know for sure that they were behind you, or did you just know there's a chance somebody's behind us, we better try to use this?
We got hated on a lot for that in the beginning of the season. I was like, oh boy, here it starts. But what happened is before we even got to the dancing challenge, we were in a group, I think it was like Jeff and Lyda Kurtenbergen, and we were all racing around trying to find a cab and directions, and we all decided to split up, and they got in a cab first, and then we got in a cab, and they were able to get to the dancing challenge probably about 10 or 15 minutes ahead of us. And right then we figured, like, wow, they're able to navigate, they can get to places quicker. Then as the challenge went on, by the time we left, we had no idea where anyone else was at this point.
Well, there was I don't know if Rochelle heard this or not, but there was, Matt and Ashley somehow brought up the rumor that somebody used the U-turn. And Jeff and Lyda had heard that. Do you know about that?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Well, the thing is, like, first off, how do Matt and Ashley know? Did a team come back and race back and tell them? And the ones that seemed most shocked by that were Jeff and Lyda. So, continue on. Well, no, continuing on, I mean, later on when you go into the race, and we obviously did it, their faces were up there. They were expecting somebody to use it. They didn't expect us because we were still at the challenge. Yeah. If they would have made it on.
And then as we were leaving, they were the only team behind us. We had no clue what was ahead of us. We had no clue how many teams have checked in or how hard it was to get to the finish line. Or the pit stop. And so at that moment when we got to the U-turn board, basically it was, for one, it was a blind U-turn, so we could use another U-turn in the future. And also the other deciding factor was just knowing how fast they were able to get somewhere else. So basically it was our security, to stay in the game.
Yeah. And if by chance, because we checked in 7th, I believe, on that.
Yeah.
Right? So that was the thing, is we checked in 7th. We had no idea. They were the only team that we knew were behind us 100%. Mm-hmm. And that was my, my thing with, like I said, Matt and Ashley were there or whatever. So if Jeff and Lyda would have stayed, I think we would have been safe. If they knew somebody was U-turned when we were still at the challenge when it was told. But that never happened. That was just a side, behind the scenes. Rochelle's looking at me like I'm crazy.
For the record, again, like, I think if there's a U-turn, use it no matter what. Like, I'm always so confused when teams are like, oh, they shouldn't have done that, or why did they do that? It's like, well, they did it so they could stay around for another week, like, and they did it because there could be somebody that does it to them next time. You got to do what you can to get ahead.
Yeah. And I mean, think about how bad we would have regretted if we didn't U-turn them. And then they were able to get to the pit stop first. Then everyone would have hated us for not U-turning.
Yeah, exactly.
Going back to the leg you guys won, we're curious to know about the trip you had won, whether or not you have been given the trip or when you're planning on going, things like that.
Yeah, we got the trip. You don't get any of the prizes until after the entire season airs. So after it aired, they sent us, Travelocity reached out to us to set something up, and basically just fill out a couple forms and you're set up with an agent. And they sent us a nice little care package with a couple gnomes and enjoy your trip to Prague. So
we still haven't booked the trip. I think we should probably do that soon. But we have to take it before June, so we're gonna book it soon and take it this spring. We're really excited. they have
a beer pipeline in Prague. So the beer goes straight from the brewery to the tap, through multiple bars, and it's a big beer city, so
we're excited.
That'll be fun.
Now, that was the only leg that you won, but surprisingly,
yeah.
I mean, a lot of teams who make it as far as you do in the race, it comes down to non-eliminations and stuff like that. But you guys managed to stay ahead almost every single time, and despite the fact, it seemed like when we were watching every week, it's like, there's another thing that's setting Mike and Rochelle back, there's another thing, and whenever you guys seem to get ahead, it just seemed to come down to just like the perfect challenge that you guys were made for. And Rochelle, you had that with the transmission, which is like the ultimate moment. I have to tell you, we basically created something throughout the season where every single week we're like, I hope next week Rochelle goes into beast mode again, because that was your challenge thing. And that's existed so much in the Amazing Race Canada season we're going through right now. There's other teams where like, yeah, this contestant, Lalani, she's going into Rochelle beast mode. Like, it's become a thing. Like, that transmission challenge, how did you do it so quickly? Like, did you not say at the beginning that you weren't even familiar with transmissions or cars?
Yeah, I'm not really I didn't even know, like, I knew, like, the transmission might be attached to, like, the the stick shift knob. I was pretty clueless on it, and I was about to have an anxiety attack when I figured out what I needed to do. But I do work like with a lot of tools. I worked on like remodeling my house. I've done drywall. I fixed my hot tub. Like, I'm familiar with using tools, and so I basically just went in it and just started ripping stuff apart, and it just played out the way I needed it to at that moment. But it was funny, though, because when I walked up there, I was trying to ask, I think it was Jelani and Jeff, do you know what you're doing? Like, where's the transmission? Or, like, trying to ask them for anything they, could give me to help. And they were just like, I don't know, like, completely ignoring me. And, I mean, I probably would have done the same thing, too. But it just felt really good to just, like, run out of there like 10 or 15 minutes before them.
I would have loved to have seen the real reactions of what happened after that. They're like, what just happened? Like, did Rochelle just totally own us on this challenge? Were there other challenges that either of you had that maybe we didn't see as much on the show, that was just like the perfect challenge? You got there and it just went smoothly, or maybe when you got there you're like, well, this is something that's really up our alley?
I wish I could give you one, but honestly, everything we tried was so hard for us. Can you think of anything?
The things that I think, just came not really easy to us, but we didn't struggle very much with were, I had a roadblock that was a puzzle box, and I was really scared for that, because I was just like, my mind's going to go crazy, but I sat down and just cleared my mind and went through that. Obviously, the transmission. And then I would say in Phuket, the zip line, our first shot. And then the Ladyboy dance didn't really come easy. We did it quite a bit, but luckily other teams didn't even get the chance to go up and try it before we were done. So I guess you can say we did all right.
Yeah, but other than that, it was a lot of struggle.
What were the challenges that kind of stood out as ones that you really were like struggling with?
The one I remember, I think the hardest one was, for me, was on that surfboard, or like that straw canoe in Peru, right before the non-elimination leg. That was probably my all-time hardest challenge. They didn't really show much of it, but I was in the ocean just like getting ripped apart for about an hour and a half before I finally was able to do it. And just the stress of that day, probably that was the all-time hardest moment. What other ones? The dancing challenges were always hard for us.
Yeah, dancing challenges. One challenge we started was making the bricks in Peru. My head would have exploded if we stayed there. That was just too much going on, and I'm glad we went and did the dancing challenge instead. There's no way we would have won with that, but that one.
The Nagano skating sled.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, that was probably my worst showing.
I did all right with that one.
Rochelle was matching the Olympian's time. Well, yeah, Steve the Olympian. She was matching his time, and then it just came down to me, and I'm like, well, I can't ice skate, so, let's try this.
Rochelle, was it different, like, being on ice as opposed, or did that really help you having, like, all the roller derby experience on that?
It's definitely different being on, ice compared to, the track, but, just the skating experience helped me a ton with that one. But just not blaming him or anything, but when Mike was, falling or, all of our falls on that, I think I got hit by a chair at one point and flipped over. That's what made it really difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I'm glad we switched challenges at that point. But.
Yeah, the noodle challenge, that came easy.
Any eating challenges, bring them on. We got it. But
that was
like, eat these noodles, all right.
That was another one where it's like, we felt like as we're watching it, okay, they're trying to set up a love connection still here. Like, let's have them feeding each other, but you're doing it with like a blowing fan in your face. I don't know if maybe that's the reason none of the couples worked out.
Oh, it was awful.
With the other twist that we had, and this is more just curiosity, there's probably nothing to it, but the selfie thing. We knew that it came into one of the challenges or the final one, we had to line up on the selfie board. But when you started this, did they present this to you as, okay, well, here's something fun for you to do, take selfies, and then, maybe we'll put them on the website? Or was this like a strict rule where they told you, okay, you need to take so many selfies per week? Because it seemed like it was there every single episode.
They basically they pretty much were like, here's a camera, and we're gonna, try to, hip up the season by, taking selfies. It wasn't something required. There's times when your cameramen would be like, come on guys, take a selfie. They'd encourage it, but I think we probably have like a total of 10 selfies the entire race. When you're racing for $1 million and you're stressed out, the last thing on at least our minds was taking selfies. But it definitely wasn't like forced.
Yeah.
They wanted some level of surprise later on when they bring it back, I guess.
Yeah, it was just, I don't know. And it was so, like, I had everything organized in my fanny pack. So it was like the money for the cabs, then the clue, and our passports, and then there's just this phone sitting in there. I'm like, well, I have to unzip this, go through all my stuff, pull out the phone, take a picture, just to put it back. No one's ever going to see it.
It did come in handy at times, though, because unlike any other seasons, we were able to take pictures of, like when we were at airports and we were researching where we needed to go, we were able to like take pictures of the maps. If we, I think we were in Thailand and we were able, somebody took, the metal castle, which was like the hardest place to find ever. But we asked someone on the street, to look up where we needed to go. And we were able to take a picture with our selfie camera of like what that location, the building looked like, so we could show our cab driver. So it did help us at certain points.
I didn't even think about that. That it was, we're watching the season, we're wondering, okay, well, this is just another cheesy thing they're throwing in there. Is this going to come back later? And we never figured it could have even possibly been used as an advantage. So that's really interesting.
Mm-hmm. It came in handy.
Yeah, one of the first questions we asked, like, because they told us take selfies, blah, blah, blah. That's the use for them. And we asked our cameraman, like, when we were sitting in LAX, like, I noticed that, I know there's no SIM card, but I could have, navigated a GPS or something if I could have found one or done anything, went Wi-Fi or whatever. So we asked the camera guy, can we use the GPS at all? We were never told we can't. And he's like, no, you can't. It's just for pictures.
Oh, okay.
So from there, we're like, well, if it's just for pictures,
we can take pictures of whatever we want.
I can take a picture of a computer screen with directions to this place I need to go, or, a monument or whatever. I don't know. And that's what we did. So, and they did. I don't think they showed any of that on the show.
No.
Well, I guess the other tricky thing with the selfies is that they wanted them to be used with the footage they're using. So if you were sitting around and the only pictures you have are, like you said, maps or boards like that, they're like, we can't use any of this stuff, and all of a sudden you're left out of the selfies.
Yeah. Yeah. I would be really upset if I was CJ and Libby. Like, if there would have been no selfie cam, who knows how far.
Yeah, exactly. They got screwed over so bad on that.
Just because of the new twist.
I would like to know what your favorite location or place to visit was while on the race.
Mine was Tokyo. Someplace I always wanted to visit and, be in the, downtown Tokyo area. And lo and behold, it was the first place. So when Phil said that on the starting line, I was just like, all right, like we're going there no matter what, unless, we get eliminated after this mud pit or whatever. But that was my favorite place, hands down.
It's really hard for me to choose. There's definitely locations that I would love to go back to. I loved Monaco. That was probably one of the most gorgeous places we went to. Also, it was just cool to go to Africa because that's a trip I never in a million years thought I'd ever get the opportunity to go. Peru was it's really, really hard to decide.
The Monaco was probably our favorite throughout the season. I mean, it was also so cool to see all the teams getting dressed up, and it was like everybody was in a James Bond movie suddenly. There's casinos and everybody's dressed up. It was fantastic.
It was, yeah, that was a really fun leg.
Now, on the Amsterdam leg, you took the shuffleboard challenge, whereas all the other teams were floating around in hot tubs. Are there any things because I would assume the shuffleboard one was probably a little bit easier because everybody was very confused by the directions in that hot tub one.
Mm-hmm.
But were there any that, of the detours where you look back and you're like, oh, I wish we could have done the other one. Maybe we would have done a little bit better?
I think we were pretty wise in choosing what detour we decided to go to, but there was definitely I think Mike would have loved to do that zip-lining one in Monaco.
Yeah, that would have been.
I would have been scared,
the perfume,
really bad. But I don't. Can you think of one?
I would have rather started out with the noodle challenge over the ice skating challenge, but that was a blind detour, I guess. Is that what they call it?
There's a couple. I mean, we switched detours a lot, so we got to experience a lot of them. I mean, when we were in Germany with the crates one, we did the beer one first. They didn't show that. We switched detours in Peru and Japan. So we got to.
You got to see all the detours.
We wanted the most out of the game.
With which one was it? I can't remember whether you got to do the one with the sake bar with all the samurai and the angry samurai and the swords and stuff.
No, we didn't.
I wish actually that is the one. Just game wise, I wish we would have done over that dance.
Yeah, wording in the clue was really weird though. We thought we had to memorize 10 bottles and deliver 10 bottles, and we didn't know it was memorize 10 and deliver 1.
Mm-hmm. So, I'm pretty sure we thought the same thing. When we were recapping the episodes, we're like, we thought this was going to be a lot harder than it was.
Yeah,
that's interesting because I was going to ask about when you get those clues for the detours. We don't know whether the clues are reading exactly as Phil's describing it, or if you just get a brief description. How much detail do you get on these detours to decide on?
They go pretty well into detail, but I mean, it's just very, I don't know, it'll tell you how to perform the task or whatever. There'll be additional notes in there, you can do this, you can't do this, but, those aren't ever read on TV or shown on TV. But I mean, there was...
I mean, that particular one, we were in such a hurry, and it was our first leg before we realized that we need to read our clues, but I think we were so excited to rip open our first, envelope. I think we read it as snake.
Instead of sock.
Mike's terrified of snakes, so we're like, no.
We're not doing the snake challenge.
Why did it have to be snakes?
But yeah, I remember there was one time in Peru where the clue was worded very strangely, and there was it could have made sense in two ways grammatically, and I was the cameraman, I was like, how do you, he's like, just read your clue, and I was like, well, it could mean this or this. He's like, well, read your clue, and then they I think they talked to a producer about it, and he's like, oh, it's this way. So there's things like that where
oh wow,
they're very well written, but it seems like everything's moving so fast on the race, their crew, whoever's typing them up or whatever, getting them prepared, maybe doesn't fully explain well enough. I guess for the most part, though, they were pretty cut and dry and got us where we needed to go.
The other twist that had been used the previous season was there was the Final Four as opposed to the Final Three, and I'm assuming that you didn't actually get to see season 25 before you shot yours, right?
No, I think we watched one of the season 25 episodes when we were in the hotel room ready to start the race. So we didn't see the finale. It was probably like airing while we were like, I
think the finale aired like a couple weeks after we got home.
Oh, okay.
We watched it.
Did it? Oh.
Yeah, we watched, the race was still, season 25 was still airing while we were filming, and then I think there were maybe 2 weeks left when we got back home.
Yeah, because I remember asking the producers, like, what happened this week on the race? And, they'd give me, like, a lowdown of what happened, who got eliminated.
Yeah, so we didn't know. I mean, nobody knew, really, because it hadn't aired at the time that there were a final 4 in season 25, so that was definitely a shock to us. The biggest shock of the entire race was that. You guys are going to the finale, and I was like, oh my gosh.
That's probably one of the biggest shocks of my entire life, to be honest.
That's one of those things, the Final Four, that has a lot of fans divided because, obviously if you're so used to a show and you're used to a Final 3, you want to see that. But there's the flip side that, you can get a team like Mike and Rochelle that are in the finals, and, if you're a little bit down on the blind dating twist, or if, you want one team in there, you do get them in. But then there's the downside that you're eliminated in the middle of the final leg. Was that a disappointment to you at all, that you wish you could have just finished? Like, even if you had the choice, let's run the entire leg and we'll still come in fourth, or let's be eliminated fourth, which one would you have chosen?
I'd have ran the entire leg.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
Just to be thankful, like, it was just an amazing, like, opportunity that Mike got to go, to the football stadium and do all that. Like, every moment of the race is just, there's something exciting or amazing you get to do, and just to be able to continue on, even though we got eliminated halfway through, it's just still another opportunity and experience and memory that we're going to have, to remember forever. So.
And I wanted to drive a monster truck really bad.
With Phil coming out, because you're told we're not going to announce when you're being eliminated, did that make you paranoid, or were you pretty much able to predict, okay, this is probably where Phil's going to eliminate us?
We knew when we were going to get eliminated, because you were able to pretty much predict, like, all right, what do you think? Like,
I didn't know.
You didn't? I figured I don't know.
I thought they were going to, we did the one, I know the finale's always, you have, two roadblocks and then the detour. I thought they were going to make us go longer throughout the day. Thought maybe we would do the horse challenge or whatever. And after that, at the next roadblock, they would cut a team there. Just to, I don't know, I think there would be a lot of evening up,
I had a feeling, though, that we were going to be eliminated because we were lost for so long with our cab driver. That we pretty much knew it was, over at that point.
Maybe they switched up the plan, and we were just so far behind. There were no other teams.
Yeah, eliminate them now.
I wonder whether in the 2 seasons they've done the Final Four, like the teams not knowing going in, if you're so paranoid where it's like you wake up in your hotel room and Phil's standing over your bed saying, sorry, that's it for you. We're not even going to let you get to a real challenge here.
All right, Mike, we need to know. What was it like to meet Rochelle's son?
Oh, it was awesome. He's really cool. We became BFFs. We watch wrestling together and just hang out all the time, have boys' days, and we're quite the duo.
They're like 2 peas in a pod.
We like to give Rochelle a hard time.
The fact that you've been on the race and everything, like, I do enjoy that both of you guys, if anybody follows you on Facebook or Twitter, you guys post a lot of, like, real life stuff, and you just feel like really, real ordinary people, but then you also have, the other side, like Mike with your podcast and stuff. But with you, Rochelle, when they made that part of the storyline with, he hasn't met my son and everything, is that something that you would have rather, okay, well, let's just, leave this out of the show, or is that something where now that it's like public and you do have people, asking about Mike and your son, is that something where you'd prefer it to be more private?
it's okay the way it is. I mean, my son's a big part of my life, and just to like hide that would just not be true to myself, I guess. But I don't know. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fine. I think it's fun. You know, people are always, like in all our exit interviews, you know, people were asking about me meeting her son, and that way they can just add us on Facebook or Twitter and just see us hanging out and see that, you know, this was a real part of the race and a real part of our lives, and you know,
we're actually, my son got tired of always just, you know, us being in the limelight, so we're actually together. Mike and I are producing. He loves YouTube, so we're making a YouTube channel for him.
Oh, nice.
So I think the first episode will be out this week, but it's called MayaTube, and we're just producing it as a family. It's pretty fun.
And that's in 10 years, he and I will be on The Amazing Race together.
Yeah. Amazing Race 2 generations. That's, I think, the one interesting thing. When teams come off The Amazing Race, you would think that being on The Amazing Race, where it's so much about the race, it's not about strategies or, you know, personalized and stuff like that. It really is interesting where you can have a team like you two where you have, you know, this interesting character going in, like you said, the branding, you know, roller derby, truck stop, wrestling, and then you can come out of it and they have this storyline, and, you know, that's probably, as you said, exit interviews, that must be the most frequent question is, you know, did you get to meet her son? You know, what is it like hanging out with her son now? So that's something that's interesting about The Amazing Race. I mean, and I think that's where being on the blind dating season, even though I said earlier, a lot of the, you know, pre-existing couples got pushed on the back burner, you guys had this storyline that really made you such an important team on the race, and probably has made you, I would argue, the fan favorite of the season, you know, as far as classic Amazing Race fans go.
Oh, well, thank you.
Thank you.
My wife in the background is sort of loosely listening to me from the other room, and she just went, whoop, whoop! I have to say, she loosely watched the race throughout the season. She'd never really watched it before. Maybe a few episodes here and there, and she watched season 26 with me on and off, and usually she'd be like playing, you know, her Nintendo DS while I'm watching it, and every once in a while when you guys come on screen, she's like, I love these two, it's like, they're my favorite ones.
Tell her we said thank you.
They say thank you. Yeah, so I guess now just let us know what else you're up to. I mean, I mentioned, you know, Mike, you have a podcast that's actually quite entertaining. I did hear 2 episodes of it, and Rochelle, if you want to go first, what are you up to now that the race is over?
I started a new job, and I'm doing internet marketing, e-marketing for one of the biggest automotive companies in Michigan right now. So that's kind of been a huge passion of mine, and I finally got a career where I could do something somewhat creative. So I've been busy, you know, working 9 to 5 doing that. Like I said, we're working on my son's YouTube channel. And then pretty much other than that, I had to take a break off roller derby for the season, but I look forward to coming back next season. And that's pretty much all we've been doing. We have some tricks up our sleeve to celebrate the new season, but
yeah, some tricks up our sleeve. There's no more truck stop. It's up for sale. So if anybody wants to buy a truck stop in northern Michigan, contact me and I'll forward you to my parents. I got a job as a morning show producer on a local radio show, 104.5 Bob FM, up here in northern Michigan. And they call me The Amazing Mikey because one of the hosts of the show was obsessed with The Amazing Race and knows every little tidbit about it. He's also nuts, but that's just him. We have a podcast, my buddy Jake and I. It's called What Even Is This Movie Podcast, where I'm not much of a movie guy, so in order for me to watch any movies, they have to be really, really bad so I can laugh. So we review that, and each week's a different movie, and it's a 20 to 30 minute podcast, really short. You can find it at whateven.podbean.com every Friday. And as Rochelle said, we have some tricks up our sleeve for the next season. We can't really announce too much right now.
Probably next week.
We're not going to be on The Amazing Race. So it's nothing like that. But we just started up our own Facebook fan page. You can find at facebook.com/Team Truck Stop Love. And when we get 1,000 likes on the page, we're going to release some of our audition videos for the race.
Oh, nice.
So that'll be pretty fun, and we're just going to keep growing it and just put over any information we have right there, and you will see the trick we have up our sleeve soon on that Facebook page.
Yeah, seriously, to all the listeners, like, follow Mike and Rochelle. They are very entertaining, and they're definitely one of the more interesting couples that have been on the Amazing Race period. With your podcast, Mike, I just have to say, the fact that you guys can stick to like 20 to 30 minutes is quite impressive. Like, one of the other podcasts that I do with some of our other contributors here is a James Bond podcast. And we cover James Bond movies, and I swear if we can stay under 3 hours, we're proud of ourselves.
Yeah, it's really, really hard. And
they've learned the art of talking really, really fast.
Yeah. You just need to talk fast, get your point across, and and radio helped with that. We have like 3 minutes to get the news, the weather, sports, and a segment in, and it's like, okay, talk as fast as you can and get as many funny bits as you can in this 3 minutes. So yeah, we just did that, and that's my thing with podcasts, is if it's not something that I'm going to be listening to, like I'll listen to wrestling podcasts or Amazing Race or Big Brother podcasts. If it's super long, I'm not going to listen to it. But, if I can pop it in my car on a ride to the grocery store or a ride to work, and it can fit within that time frame, then I'll be more than happy to listen to any podcast that can fit that time frame. So that was our goal.
Rochelle, does he make you watch Plan 9 from Outer Space with him?
I refuse.
Yeah, she won't watch. Well, the only movie she watched with me from the podcast was the unauthorized Full House story.
I love Lifetime movies, and I love Full House. But other than that, I go up to bed by him and Jake stay up and do all that stuff.
She's really missing out on some gems.
Now, you did tease a little bit about the upcoming season. We just really quickly before we go, we'll talk a little bit about season 27 here, because I'm assuming you're going to watch. Now that you've been on the show, it's got to be a little bit more interesting than beforehand.
Oh yeah,
we're excited.
Now you've had a chance to kind of look over the cast that they have. Are there any standouts to you, like right off the bat, who you're looking forward to seeing in season 27?
There's a few. I definitely am excited to watch Denise and James. They kind of remind me of Margie and Luke, which are actually my favorites. So I'm excited to watch just them interact. I think that's going to be exciting. I really like the cousins, Alex and Adam. Mm-hmm. I think just having confidence throughout the race will help them tremendously. And they seem like they have a lot of confidence.
And I'm looking forward to Justin and Diana. I think Justin was actually my friend on Facebook for a while now, and I'm really excited for the fact that The Amazing Race doesn't seem to touch on this as much, but I'm a huge Big Brother fan, and they always talk about the aspect of super fans playing the show, and the super fans always go to the end. They know every strategy and everything, and Justin and Diana are, of course, an Amazing Race super fan couple, which I think is going to be really, really exciting to watch because they know everything inside and out.
They're the ones that staged the engagement based on a fake Amazing Race, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. The proposal.
I can't even fathom how somebody pulls that off. That's incredible.
It's expensive.
Yeah, no kidding.
It's of like 5 states, 2 countries, and geez, that's a lot. That's a lot of work.
You have a lot to live up to, Mike.
Yeah, they need to win the $1 million just to repay that trip they took to their engagement.
And then the dancers.
I know.
I think they're going to be fun.
They're going to Ernest and Jen, the dancing brothers. We were talking, and I think they have definitely an advantage that we didn't have was just knowing how to dance. We were stuck with like 4 dance competitions, and if we would have had that, skill, it would have helped us a lot. So
yeah, and I think they're going to be really, really entertaining in front of the camera, and they're going to have good interviews. So they might be a fan favorite just based on their, on their little side interviews alone, because they have some good one-liners, it seems.
Mm-hmm.
When we did our preview episode, we take notes on all the teams as we talk about them, and with them, like, I swear, every single thing out of their mouth, I'm pausing the video, I'm like, I gotta write this down. They're getting so much screen time on the season.
They're gonna get some good hashtags.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. Are there any teams that were just kind of like forgettable to you, or you figure they're just gonna maybe be a first elimination?
To me, I don't know. I mean, with our season and everything like that, I just kind of, I mean, saying this now, I could say it, but like seeing John and Harley, I thought they were just like New York firefighters or something like that. So I was like, oh, great, some firefighters again. And then lo and behold, it's Jonathan Knight from New Kids on the Block. So I'm not really, after maybe a leg or two and kind of get the vibe for everyone, I can make my decision then. But right now, I mean, I'm giving everybody a fair chance.
There's a lot of media people on this season. I don't know if you noticed that too.
We were just talking about that. Yeah.
Yeah, paparazzi, TMZ, and news anchors.
Yeah, the news anchors.
I don't know. It's really weird for them to do that, especially when they were like, in our season casting with the wrestler thing. Like, don't mention wrestling. There's a wrestler last season. Now, 3 sets of media teams. I don't know. Maybe they're going, and who knows?
Yeah. Well, it should be an interesting season, and coming off of your season, which it's so strange because a lot of people are so stuck on the whole, the blind dating twist thing didn't work, that they don't realize, like, it was an incredibly entertaining season and very funny too. Obviously, Haley provided a lot of entertainment along the way. But even like you guys had some great moments, throughout the season. So, were you happy with your season overall?
Yeah, I was happy. It was fun. It was, everything on TV played out, and everything was pretty much true to what happened in the story. And, aside from like the first U-turn, a lot of people took to Twitter and bashed us a little bit in the first leg. But after that, and they got to see who we really are and, the type of people we are, I was happy with everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Are there other teams that you stay in touch with, that you're tight with, maybe that you were tight with on the race, or even some maybe after the race?
A lot. Okay, so I would say the person that we talked to the most would probably be Haley. We actually met up for my birthday, and us 3 went and watched New Kids on the Block concert, which was fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
I actually talked to John here and there. Which is kind of cool. I didn't meet him as Jonathan Knight from New Kids on the Block. I just met him from John as John and Harley. So we'll stay in touch.
They're super sweet guys. Other than that, I mean, we talked to some of our castmates here and there, but I would say we didn't really get that close with a lot of teams during the race. We kind of just like sat back a little bit. So
yeah, then I mean, like for the finale party in New York, like I finally got to talk a lot more to Matt and Ashley. Like,
oh yeah,
I was big fans of them. Like they were just hilarious. So me and Matt were texting all day when we were in New York, and then we finally met up and just had a couple drinks and had a lot of fun. So, but we do have a big group chat. Like on I don't know what the app is, but we have a big group chat and everybody's in it. And if something comes up, like when Jeff and Jackie were announced for Big Brother, we put it in the group chat and we just all kind of discuss it. So we all do have a medium where we can contact each other immediately. So.
And if you're the Big Brother fan, how did they end up on Big Brother and not you?
I don't know. I was upset about that. I was like, this needs to be Truck Stop Love, but...
Rochelle, would you have done Big Brother with him if they gave you guys the opportunity?
That would be really, really hard for me. For one, like, being away from my son for 3 months, that's a little excessive. Yeah. That's, like, really hard. But then, like, it's his dream to do it, so I would be be stuck in a tough place right there, but...
I mean, that's we're not a blind dating couple, so that's 2 chances to walk away with $500,000 between us. We can just split it no matter what.
He's already pitching you the idea. It's like, seriously, you got to consider this.
If I ever get cast, if she ever misses me, she can watch the live feeds 24/7. She can see me whenever she wants. Sees that I'm behaving. But no, I was happy for Jeff and Jackie. It was cool to see Jeff go in there and actually really play the game. And then for a little bit, Jackie was just kind of, I was like, she does not know what she's doing. And then out of nowhere, she just started playing a really good game. And I was happy for him.
Colin and I, as well as all the fans out there, want to know, if you're asked, would you do an all-star season?
Yes.
Heck yeah.
In a heartbeat.
Nice.
We would love to.
We finished up the season and pretty much agreed. There's at least 2 teams on here that are definite shoo-ins for an all-star season. One is, if it would ever happen, Blair and Haley, and the other one's Mike and Rochelle.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
That would be awesome.
I was actually surprised Haley didn't get picked up for Big Brother.
Yeah, I think she would have been really entertaining for a Big Brother.
Oh, that would have been amazing. I can't even imagine how much drama there'd be on that season.
Or maybe on Survivor, where she has like a group of 8 other people to be in a team with for.
Oh, yeah. Malnourished and tired and cold.
Should have a field day.
Yeah. Seriously, thanks so much for coming on the show today. And everybody who's listening, like, definitely get out there and follow them. And we got to get to those 1,000 likes as soon as possible. And
Yes.
really interested to. Yeah, we're really interested to see what you have in store for the upcoming season.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, like it on Facebook.com/Team Truck Stop Love, and just wait, it's going to be something fun.
All right, thanks so much for both of you for being here.
Us.
Yeah, thank you.
And that was Mike and Rochelle from season 26 of The Amazing Race. And we'll consider this, I don't know if this is just a brief interlude between seasons, or maybe this is our final Amazing Race 26 episode, but it was a good one regardless. What did you think, Rossi?
Like them, but now I love them. They're a great team. Good to chat with them. And they're not one of those teams that are so obsessed with the fame. They're genuine and down to earth.
We got a little bit of a preview on season 27 from them, and to hear more, you can listen to our full cast assessment on season 27, which should be out around the same time, I'm assuming. And we'll hopefully be back to do Amazing Race Canada within a day or so, or maybe these all go up at the same time. I don't know. You know better than we do, so let us know. We're looking for comments still. Comment on the Amazing Race Canada. Comment on season 27. Comment on Mike and Rochelle. Comment on anything, right? Rossi, do you have a comment?
Comment on cheese.
Comment on cheese. Jamie's cheese sneeze in the background from so many episodes ago. We have lots of material to go work with here, but yeah, we're glad that we're starting to get contestants on here, and we're hoping to have more. And fingers crossed. Don't want to give anything away yet, but we hopefully should have a few of the season 3 Amazing Race Canada contestants coming on before the end of the season. So we'll get them, fresh right off of their season, able to talk about stuff. We're hoping if you're listening to this 2 months from now and it never ended up happening, then we're liars, or it never happened, and we apologize. So
We've done it before.
yeah, it's not the first time. This is not new for the Amazing Race / Survivor Oz. But everybody out there, definitely like and follow Mike and Rochelle, and like us, Survivor Oz / Amazing Race Oz. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and
We'll see you at the truck stops.